And welcome back to Hot and Cold Podcast. Today is Tuesday, April 12th, and this is our first real off-season episode. If you listen to the last one, it's a great just kind of, hang out, chill. Season's over. We're not going to go into anything too far. Just had a conversation with a Kansas fan. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. I hope we can start doing a little bit more of those, just having just sit down conversations and not hitting just bullet points after bullet points. But today is the off-season episode. We're going to be looking kind of macro at Indiana and Kentucky, what their plans are in the off-season, what we think they should do, what we're hearing that they're hearing out, just to kind of put it all in one place. Because I know if you're on Twitter, you're scrolling, it won't always be in one place, and you got to remember stuff. But Connor's with me today. Connor, how we doing?
Not too bad. Um, got to experience, as we were just talking about before we hit the record button, got to experience the toxic side of Twitter a little bit.
Welcome.
Like, we usually don't get, I tweet something about Geronimo transferring if Trayce and Race come back, which is, that's obviously there's news on like Trayce declared. He's maintaining eligibility, which is expected, whatever. And, just the replies to that tweet, it was crazy. Like, and then I'm like it ended up causing people to fight with each other about it, which was also funny. And I don't know. It was very interesting.
That reply section is crazy. I go look at it.
I'm seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It makes me wonder, like, the expectations for, the team in general, expectations for players. I mean, people are legitimately like convinced that Hood-Schifino should start right away, and he should play with Xavier Johnson. He should start, and Jordan Geronimo should play the 3 with Race and Trayce if they're all back. And that to me is just like the worst lineup. I can't even imagine that, because like the spacing and everything, it just wouldn't work. And I don't know, that the portal and everything else we've talked about, it is really, really clouded some people's judgments, especially on what players should do as well. I think that's something that can be talked about, because at the end of that tweet, I was like, Geronimo needs to do what's best for him, basically is what I was implying, because he should go where he going to get the most opportunity. And people were saying, no, he shouldn't. He committed to a team. And I get that. He's been here for 2 years and hasn't started. It's been reported by people that there were frustrations from his family, whoever, back home, that he should have played more his freshman year. And then obviously last year. This guy wants to be an NBA player or, continue his basketball career. You can't do that from a bench role. He's wasting opportunities, not wasting, but he could have a better one somewhere else. And it's weird. Like these people that are so old school, anti-transfer portal, nobody should be able to leave, not allowed. You're leaving your team behind. It's weird, man. It's so weird.
Well,
I don't know how Kentucky fans are. Kentucky fans are the same way. I mean, I saw people were complaining about.
But they would never. Here, yes, we're crazy. Kentucky fans, we are crazy. But when a player enters the portal, I'm not saying all Indiana fans are like this. I'm just saying some of the people in the replies were kind of acted like when a player leaves, when a Johnny Juzang leaves, when a Bryce Hopkins leaves, when a Dante Allen leaves, and we'll get to all of that in the second segment, talking about Kentucky. We blame Cal. Like it's Cal that we blame. Like
Yeah.
it's never the player. We're never.
If these people want to get mad, blame Woodson.
Yeah,
he didn't play Geronimo, and I think a lot of people by the end of the year saw that Geronimo probably should have played more. That's on Woodson. That's his fault.
Yeah,
and
no, 100%.
Don't blame the player. Like, it's just, I don't really get it. And it was funny. One of the replies is, that I needed to get informed on the team that I watch. And I was like,
let's go.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
get
love that.
informed. Get informed. We need him on the pod. But anyways, no, but I'm serious. Like when you look at it, a player like Jordan Geronimo is the type of player that the transfer portal was like made for. That's why they made this rule.
Absolutely.
Because he enrolls and he expects Trayce and probably Race to be gone after a year. Because how could he expect that this COVID year was going to be so used by so many people? Like he's the type of person that this rule is made for. And you can't hate on him for wanting to get out of this situation if he does. And there's not even really smoke that he's gotten. Like it was 100%.
That was the craziest thing.
It was just speculation.
This was just like a connecting the dots. If this happens, this could happen. I never even said he is or is going to. It was, I would expect it would just be a hunch that he would leave. Mm-hmm. And, and again, like you said, I mean, Trayce was supposed to be gone after his second year for sure. And, then he comes back and now he could maybe come back again. If Race comes back, it's year 6. So it's like, I mean, how is he supposed to predict that? I don't know. Like we've talked about the portal getting out of control and everything, but in Geronimo's case, I don't know how people could really complain about that.
And he would get some good looks, because he's coming in as uber athlete, extremely raw, has never had the opportunity to really show himself. And when he did, it was in the NCAA tournament, in the only NCAA tournament game that he played. He was throwing down dunks. Did he hit a 3 in that game? Am I mistaken? He did hit
one
a 3.
Of the only ones that they hit. Yeah. Apparently Seton Hall has already promised him a spot starting. Like he would come in and be the starter, which again, I know that's frowned upon and, coaches don't do that as I've been told, but
no, that's never happened.
That doesn't happen. But, like I said, Trayce declared, Rob Finney is down to 2 schools. I don't know if you saw that. Butler. I think he's going to go to Butler. I think he's going to go join Thad. I think Thad Mata probably got a good relationship with him and probably would like to bring him on. But
they might poach a couple of those Indiana guys after that year at Thad.
Lander might go too. I don't know. There was some rumors on Lander and Rob both going to Butler. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
I feel like Parker kind of fits that a little bit better.
All of them, honestly. Dad will probably take any of them. I mean, Butler's not very good, but other news, I think Sean McNeil released his top 6. There was, I can't remember all the teams on there. Indiana, it seemed like, was one of the only ones that would have a clear-cut role for him.
Yeah.
Texas Tech was maybe another one, but like Louisville, again, Kenny Payne, I think he's going to do a great job, but I wouldn't want to go there necessarily. That's just hard to trust at times with him being in his first year. Ohio State was another one, which I thought was weird because they got Tanner Holden. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's kind of different roles. I feel like he would fit that Aaron's role a little bit. Aaron's obviously.
I thought I guess Aaron's didn't start at the end of the year though.
No, but I didn't
know if you wanted that starting role.
Yeah, sure. But maybe that 3 spot. Yeah, Holden's more of a guard, ball in hand, but yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, though, it's been pretty quiet. I'm
get to the big story. We got to get to the big story, the Trayce and Race.
What do you mean?
Just the potential of them coming back. The NIL.
Oh yeah,
that feels like forever ago, but I kind of want to wait a little bit just to have all the news kind of.
I don't think it matters necessarily with the NIL deal. I think people overreacted to that.
100%. Yeah.
But I will say the football players, the basketball players that got it at Indiana, they're all going to be here next year, which, makes you think. I think Race probably is back. If he's going to sign an NIL deal, he probably, especially if it's 6 figures, like why wouldn't you play another? Because I don't think Race is going to the NBA. So I'm guessing a 6-figure NIL deal, while all of your expenses are paid for, is probably good decision versus like going overseas or something. You're playing in the G League. But again, I don't know what's going to happen with Trayce. It just depends on it's going to come down, like we said, to those pre-draft interviews. If one team's like, hey, we'll take you. I think he did come out and say he wants, to get kind of like that guarantee he'll go in the top 35. And if not, he'll probably come back. Okay. And I don't see that happening unless there's like, it's got to be like the perfect fit. Like there's got to be that perfect fit, perfect role for him on a certain team. And I don't know who that is going to be, but I would say it's like 75-25 he comes back. Just because he set the ground rules, has to go 35 or higher. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. No, that's true. Then it gets kind of into the weeds a little bit on, what this team is actually going to look like, going down the stretch. There's a question mark.
And not even that. Xavier Johnson. Who knows?
That's what I was about to say. A question mark at point guard. Who knows what he's going to do? Who knows? Look, Indiana's basketball program, and maybe with Woodson in, kind of, even he's pretty old, but it's an old school program, and they're serious about dealing out punishment. Not to say it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It's just the kind of the culture that they build at Indiana. You saw with the suspension for a game. That wasn't required by the NCAA. Like they were serious about keeping the players in line. And when that happened, it's a boneheaded decision. Like I know it's unpopular to criticize a kid for making a dumb decision. And I'm not hating on him, whatever. It's just, that's an idiotic thing to do. Like if you read the report, I'm not going to just shell out all the things he did, but it was a dumb report. Like it was a dumb thing to do. And I think when Indiana has this culture of kind of like dealing out the punishment, who knows if Mike Woodson wants it back, like he served the game suspension. Like that was kind of strike two. So like, who knows, and it'll be interesting to see, obviously the guy in the car with him, Parker Stewart, he's gone already. So we'll see. And then look, Jalen Hood-Schifino, obviously a five-star freshman. Who knows if he's going to be ready by the beginning of the year? So who knows if they get, a veteran point guard to kind of fill that void in the portal. And look, there will be plenty. There will be plenty out there.
Oh yeah.
Just the first wave happened. It obviously. I was talking to somebody last night, and we're just talking about how the talent pool doesn't look as great as it did last year, and it doesn't. Not right now, at least. But it was only. This is only the first.
It's picked
wave.
up like recently. Like again, like we were talking about the waves of, where when people really are entering, and then people are going to commit. There were a ton of people entering today. Like I was just sending them to you and Bryson today as they were coming, and it was. I think there's still probably a 2-week period here where there's still going to be a lot of people entering the portal. And Schifino, like again, that's a question mark. You talk about bringing in a point guard, they can't right now. Technically, if they're serious about McNeil, he takes up the last scholarship. This is also the thing. Going back to that tweet that people don't understand is if Trayce and Race come back, and people are saying on Twitter that Malik Renault, who is supposed to visit this month, is serious about Indiana. Okay, well, if he comes here, that's all of the scholarships. Mm-hmm. So do we want Sean McNeil? If we get Sean McNeil before Renault commits, somebody has to leave. Like we're out of scholarships. So, Geronimo would, if he left, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Trayce and Race are back. Again, we had the conversation about you asked me if I really wanted both of them back. I don't know. I'm almost indifferent on it. Like it's going to be hard to tell those guys no, but at the same time, I really hope that they do something like Purdue did and split those two up and don't play them together, like Purdue did with Edey and Travion. I don't know if they'll do that or not. I mean, how are you going to convince Race to come back for a sixth year if he's not going to start? I mean, Painter did it with Travion, so there's got to be a lot of trust there. It's got to be a good relationship. So maybe that is the case. But
and there, I mean, there's stuff too, because like I mean, no offense, like I'm meaning this in the most sincere way possible. Like, Painter got him to buy in because of the success that they've had, and the success that they're promised. If you remember, they were a top 3 team preseason last year. So that's what enticed Travion to come back. Obviously, St. Peter's happened, and the story goes on from there. But he got the trust from promised success and everything like that. If Woodson can get him to buy in, good for him. But my problem with not this that you can finish whatever, but my problem with bringing back Trayce and Race, and obviously it's a tough deal because I mean, you look at it. Obviously, IU fans for the majority of the season, they don't like how he finished, and they didn't like how he finished, but they love Race Thompson, like they do. Like it's the consensus around the university. I'm here every day. I hear like they love Race Thompson. They love the hustle he brings. Sometimes he's the only guy bringing any hustle to the team. And obviously, Trayce Jackson Davis, last year he was an All-American. Not like the 2 years ago. Sorry, he was an All-American. And he's been your leading scorer. It's gonna be hard to just say no. We don't want you back. Like we don't want you back. Like that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
But what it does is it really handcuffs them to that certain play style. It handcuffs them to that slow it down, grind it out, 60s and 50s game. Woodson doesn't want to. I'm not.
I don't think he wants to do that.
Yeah, I would think he doesn't want to do that. Coming from the NBA, playing fast pace, free flowing offense. That is the exact opposite of the offense that he ran last year. The exact opposite.
I don't know. Like that's the issue. And even if like say Race left and Trayce came back, I still don't know if it would change things. Mm-hmm. Like I still think Trayce has got to come back from these draft interviews and be like, you guys have got to use me in a different way because the way I'm being used is not helping me. Like it might help me. It might help my scoring because I'm shooting like 75 post hooks every game, but that's not what I'm going to do in the NBA. Nobody really does that anymore. Like I watch NBA games. Like nobody just throws in the post and backs the guy down over and over again. Like that's not going to be what he does. So I would think that Woodson, as far as getting him back, would be like, hey, we're going to use you differently, like you will be in the NBA. The rim runner, the vertical threat, which they started to do that at the end a little bit, but it's hard to change the offense that late in the season. Can't really just overhaul it completely. But, another thing you brought up, the preseason rankings. I don't know how Indiana's in the top 25.
Is there someone with Indiana in the top 25? I've seen a couple and
almost all of them.
Really? Torres I haven't seen one. Yeah, I saw Torres didn't. I saw Bleacher Report did not.
Gary Parrish and Rothstein both had him in the top 25. And I was just
I don't get
that's weird. And I don't know. Especially with all I think it had Race and Trayce starting. Mm-hmm. I think Shafino was I think they're just throwing up the rosters, and it's not a great. I hate doing these rankings.
It's hard for national guys. I
don't even know why they do it.
Yeah,
it's for clicks, obviously,
because we're talking about it right now.
Yes.
Like that.
It's so bad at this point that we have to talk about it.
Yeah, but no, it's just. I mean, there's a ceiling to what this team can do. And I think it was kind of a recency bias that like people, they saw what happened at the end of the year, that run that they went on, that one little run at the end of the season when it came at the most important time. That's what people are going to see. Like, that's what people are going to remember. And they're going to be like, okay, well, that's the ceiling. Well, yeah, it's the ceiling, but it really, when you look at it with the personnel, obviously add in a few guys this year, but with the personnel, it took them 2 whole years to get to that ceiling. It took them 2 whole years to get to that ceiling.
I think the ceiling could be a little bit higher if they do get a shooter. Like, shooting that they were supposed to get really did not come to fruition in Big Ten play at all. Again, with the McNeil, people are mad that his percentages aren't great, but he's high volume. Like that's the big
His
thing.
volume was crazy last year.
High volume at a Big 12 school. Like that's a lot different than Parker Stewart coming from UT Martin. Not throwing any shade at him, but it's just a different level of play.
Hey, and Parker Stewart, like for like a portion of the year, I don't know what he finished, but he was like a 45% 3-point shooter. You can't just look at the percentage.
The problem was, and people at the time were complaining he wasn't shooting enough. That's Woodson, I think, is hopefully going to figure out the balance of, getting. He would run these pin downs that I started, talking about and wanting them to run more, like once or twice a game. Like those needed to happen more to open other things up, and then you've got other options off the pin down. You've got slips and everything else, but I think that the ceiling is a little bit higher, but again, like there's so many flaws. I just don't think they earned being in the top 25 preseason. But I'll take it. I'm not gonna be upset about it.
I mean, yeah, it's just.
I just wanted to be realistic.
No, absolutely, and there's nothing when you look at. There's nothing to it. There is nothing to it at all, and we can make those, and if we did, we'd have to do some. We'd have to do some stuff maybe we don't believe in as much just to get clicks. And that's kind of what some of those people do. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying some of them are definitely saying, okay, well, this is going to get some clicks. If we move Duke up, if we move Kentucky up, if we move Kansas up, we'll get clicks because those are the fan bases that want to see it, or even down. It's just, that's kind of just what happens. And, but yeah, Indiana, if they lose, and this is going to sound weird, but if they lose Trayce and Race, or maybe just one, they're going to be able to kind of flex their muscles a little bit, get somebody in the portal, get a shooter, change their offense, change the offense. It is so hard to watch them, play offense, and they bring Trayce back. Like you said, I like what you said, kind of getting them ready for the NBA. What they need to do, and I saw flashes of it. I saw flashes of, he'll be standing at the free throw line and he'll give, that one-handed, float pass to Race in the post. That's the kind of stuff that he has to do. I've compared him to Domantas Sabonis before, and that's kind of what he needs to be. He needs to be, if he's going to only be able to hit those hook shots, then he has to incorporate a kind of, a passing game, because that's what the bigs in the NBA do now. That's what those old-fashioned bigs do. They're great passers.
Yes. And Sabonis handles the ball a lot. When he was with the Pacers, his usage rate was significant. It was highest on the team.
Yeah.
He also, at least had a mid-range. I think that it's that just has to be there. If he had a mid-range this year, a consistent mid-range, maybe 40%.
There's just
maybe
nothing.
40%.
There's nothing there. The mechanics are so off, and he just has bricks for hands. I can't describe it. I can't describe it.
Yes. If they figured it out, if he had a mid-range shot, he'd be a top 20 pick, because when scouts and teams see that he has the ability to shoot the mid-range, they'll convince themselves that he can extend that into, a 3-point shot at some point in his career. And if Trey shot threes, if he could shoot threes right now and was a 35% 3-point shooter, where would he be drafted? Probably in the top 15, top 20 at least. It's just, there's no question about it. But again, that's not obviously the case. And that's why he's going to, find out again what he needs to work on. That was my issue in the end, was the things that we were told he was going to improve on. He improved as a shot blocker, but his shooting did not necessarily improve that much. So we'll see.
Yeah. And it's just kind of when somebody's good their freshman year, and I think Trayce, everybody saw he was good. I believe he was the best player on the team, right? He was
better
the best
than
player
expected, honestly.
Yeah. And he just never, he never developed after that. And we've talked about that. He just never really progressed. And that's why he's not in the NBA now. And that's why he's not, a surefire NBA draft pick this year. And obviously his style is out of date, and that's whatever. Like that's kind of what college is. Like Kofi Coburn, first team All-American.
Great
He's
college players.
not going to be in the first round. Oscar Tshiebwe, National Player of the Year. He is considering coming back to Kentucky. We'll touch on that later, just because it's not really what the NBA is looking for, and so you have to really differentiate yourself. And yeah, and I think that's kind of what has killed Trayce. But yes, Sean McNeil, I do want to talk about him a little bit. We've talked about him a little, but he's a very, very intriguing player. I expected when he entered coming out of Union, Kentucky, I expected Kentucky to at least call his phone. They didn't, which is whatever. But Indiana went in that top 6. We got to talk about him. He was on that West Virginia team that was really good with Miles McBride, Derek Culver, that team. And he was awesome. Like, he was one of the top scorers on the team. Obviously, people are going to look at his volume this year, his percentages on a bad West Virginia team and think, oh, okay, this is just 2.0. No, he played on a good team, and he was a contributor to that team, and he is a solid player. Like, you look at some of these shooters in the portal, they're getting picked off their their percentages, their shooting, their high volume at these bad colleges. But he is coming from a real legitimate, they were a contender with Miles McBride. They were for a while. And he's flashy. He's intriguing to watch. I think he'd be a fan favorite if he came in. He is not what Parker Stewart is. I think
he can create his own shot. That's the difference. Like,
yes.
Parker Stewart, by the end of it, which is honestly weird to me, because we talk about the levels of play at UT Martin, like, Parker Stewart was handling the ball, creating his own shot, getting to the basket, shooting step back threes, pull up threes. And when he gets to Indiana, he was just a standstill shooter. And, Miller Kopp, again, at Northwestern, they weren't good, but he had elements of that in his game. But then he came to Indiana and he really struggled creating his own shot still. Like, that element wasn't really there. Sean McNeil absolutely can do that. And I think that's kind of the missing piece that they've had. Xavier Johnson can get his own shot. Whether it's a good shot all the time, that's a different story. But he's arguably the only player on the team last year that you could give the ball to and say, hey, go get a basket. And they need more of those, because that's when people start to help off. And that's how you get more open threes, more open dunks. I mean, that's just what you have to do. Hopefully Hood-Schifino has flashes of that. Hopefully Tamar Bates, can figure it out in his sophomore. He is back. I don't know if that's actually been official or not, but I'm going to be back. They need him to be able to do that. I think everybody expected, and me included, that he would be used more than he was. So hopefully that can change next year as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was a good monologue to kind of finish off the Indiana talk. It'll be interesting, man. It'll be completely interesting, because that's one team that nobody in the country really knows what they're going to look like come the season. And there's people saying, because of that NIL deal, maybe not because of it, they're saying, I fully expect both Race and Trayce to be back. People were like, they were thrilled about it, obviously. Like, that on paper, that's awesome. Having your two top scorers coming back. But like, you get, once you kind of dig, it's like, what do we really want that? Like, because Mike Woodson has an expiration date and he needs to be able to start his. That sounded bad. I'm not saying he's going to die soon. I'm saying, like, he's old. He can't keep coaching forever. He can't. Yeah. Like, he's already an old dude, and so and he needs to start, like, with what he wants to do as quickly as possible, or else he's gonna get pushed out. Like, not saying like that's something Indiana fans do all the time, but like, once if you're in that position, your program's so used to winning, they just pushed a coach out a couple of years ago, and they pushed one out 3 years before that. It'll get interesting. It'll be very interesting.
Well, it's because it's those choices of keeping players and not keeping them. And when you have an opportunity to change things, like this year, they honestly have they I don't think that this is going to sound bad, and this probably isn't how conversations go, but you have an opportunity to tell people that you don't want them back necessarily. Like they're not going to play and they'll leave. And, some guys did leave for Indiana, Lander and Rob and Parker Stewart and Michael Durr. And, there's other ones I thought that would have left too. I thought it was going to be more. I thought there was going to be 2 or 3 more, honestly. I thought Logan Duncan would leave. I don't know what the word is on that. And again, like we've said with Geronimo, I thought he's another one they could potentially leave as well. When you have the opportunity to overhaul a roster to get your guys in and you don't do it, that's really bad. Like, again, we've talked about it with Archie. I think he regrets, like you should see how many open scholarships he has at Rhode Island. Like, it's totally different from when he took over at Indiana. Like, he's got 6 or 7 open versus having like none at Indiana and basically having, to bring in and bring back guys that weren't even his. And I think he's probably happy with that. And Woodson has the opportunity to kind of fast track that process. It hasn't really happened. And if it come back to bite him and they lose, that's on him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see it. We'll monitor that. Like, we'll be your one-stop shop for all of the rumors, news, whatever on Indiana basketball. And we'll also be your one-stop shop on Kentucky basketball as well. So let's get started in that. I do want to talk about the departures. First off, obviously Dante Allen leaving. That was expected. Never got his shine here. Hope for him to do the best wherever he goes. Hopefully not, dude. If it's Louisville, Kentucky fans are gonna be pissed. Like is that
a possibility?
Yeah. I think he met with Louisville. He met with West Virginia. I don't know if he met with Louisville. I know he's in talks with Louisville, but he officially met with Bob Huggins, and apparently he was on a recruiting visit at Western Kentucky. So, I mean, we'll see where he goes. I hope the best. But
is
if
he
it's
going to be
Louisville,
Juzang 2.0? Like, can he become that player or no? Because nobody thought it could happen with Juzang either. So I'm curious.
Juzang was still like Juzang was a top 100 player. Like he was still. Yeah. He was fringe 5, not fringe 5. Sorry, he was pretty deep in the 4s, but he was a top 100 player. He was like a fringe 5-star. Sorry, I got him mixed up with Jamal Baker. Yes, he was like top 25. Like he was right there on the cusp of All-American, and I believe he reclassified. Obviously, coming from California, and you never got your shot, you want to go back home, and I get it, but I don't think Dante will be that. Just unfortunately,
that would hurt if he was.
It would definitely hurt. But unfortunately, I don't think he's that player. But I think he would, if he's put in the right position to kind of help out, kind of score off the ball, be able to shoot through his misses, and he never was here at Kentucky. I think he'll be a fine player in college. Bryce Hopkins, that kid is just loaded with potential. That's the kid that could turn into Juzang 2.0, like. Not play style wise, but production wise. If he's put in the right position, I'm assuming it'll be Illinois or Louisville. Like he was committed to Louisville before he chose Kentucky. His parents went to Illinois. They wanted him to go to Illinois. From Illinois. I think he ends up there. But he's fantastic. He just never really got to show it here. In the one game he did, Cal said, well, Bryce Hopkins showed me why I should play him more. And he played 7 minutes total after that game. So, yeah, that one hurt. That one definitely hurt. I thought Bryce Hopkins could be an important piece of this team next year, but it just kind of shows like that's not really where Cal needs to be recruiting. He does not need to be recruiting those fringe 5, high 4s, just because like, if he wants to, if he can't, he doesn't have the patience to develop those guys. He just doesn't. He's better with, the top of the top freshmen or good transfers. Like that's what he has to do. Or else it's going to keep burning us like Juzang and probably Hopkins moving on. But obviously Ty Washington enters the draft and signs an agent. Shaedon Sharpe enters the draft, maintaining his eligibility. But I'll touch on him later. Jacob Toppin enters with maintaining his eligibility. I expect him to be back, but he can
I
wow
saw some Kentucky
scouts.
fans. I saw some fans thought he was a one and done.
Who's that?
Like, did you see that? Sean, I think it was Sean Smith was talking about it. I saw tweets from him. Kentucky fans were getting mad and saying they were so upset with the one and dones at Kentucky and they're tired of it.
Like
and
replying to the Toppin thing?
Yeah. I think it was like a Facebook group. And he was like, this guy is not a one and done. Just
he transferred to Kentucky as a sophomore. Like he was a sophomore. Yeah. So
like, yeah.
Whatever. But that's the Facebook message. You never know what you'll get in that. You'll never know because that is an older section of the population. But
Facebook is honestly, I think, more toxic than Twitter.
Oh, 1,000 times. 1,000 times. 1,000 times. It's just we won't experience that. Like we just won't.
No.
Yeah.
Never going back to Facebook. People ask me if I use Facebook, and I'm like, no. I haven't used it since like middle school.
I've been on Facebook before, and I don't know what I was doing. I was like trying to get into an app, and you needed a Facebook page. So I was like, well, I guess I'll try to find my password, whatever. And I got in, and I had like hundreds of like happy birthday Sams, and I made the account. It is statute of limitations, whatever, but I made the account when I was like what's the age that you have to be to get a social media account? Like 13.
Yeah.
So I was like probably 12 when I made it. So I made like my birthday like 87, and so like people are like replying to me like, yeah, happy 32nd. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Anyways, that was besides the point.
the Facebook usage today is not how we used it. Like we used it like as a like chat, like texting back and forth almost. And now it's like, I don't even understand. It's basically just Instagram. Like that's how it's used now, which
Instagram for old people. That's what it is.
It's weird though, because some people use it. They use Facebook and Instagram, and it's like you're doing the same thing.
Oh, like linking posts?
App. No, and not even that. They'll post on Instagram and they'll post on Facebook. It's like, just do it on one. Like, why would you? I don't know. Like, it's all weird. Facebook has completely changed from what it used to be.
I should make a hot and cold Facebook and just say,
"Oh my god,
ridiculous takes, like stuff that I can't put on Twitter without getting like shelled." But yeah, he enters. Somehow we got from Jacob Toppin to Facebook message, which is just a wild thing. And then Keon Brooks enters while maintaining his eligibility. Speaking on those guys, obviously Oscar hasn't made the draft decision. I'd expect him to go through the process, and I'll talk about when I get to him and Shaedon on what I expect him to do. But speaking on those guys, I think Toppin is back. I said that. I don't think Keon will enter. And but if he does, he does. If he comes back to college, I don't think he'll be wearing a Kentucky uniform. I think that 4 position is so, it's kind of loaded depending on where Cal wants to play Damian Collins next year. I'd be completely fine.
Livingston.
So Livingston, Toppin, like I'd be completely fine with Livingston and Toppin being our 2 power forwards. I'd almost rather start Jacob Toppin because he's been here for so long, and he just like if you loosen his leash, like he's awesome. Like in like high volume situations, he has been our best player in some games. Like a great rim protector, great rim runner, obviously a terrific perimeter defender. The jumper's never been there, but like I think like his mechanics aren't bad. Like his jump shot doesn't look bad at all. I think something can become of it. Obviously, he's not going to be a 40% 3-point shooter ever, but like if he can sometimes step out, because he hits that long mid range like on command. So we'll see.
I don't think Livingston's going to be okay coming off the bench. Now he signed with Clutch. I don't think I don't think that group they'd probably prefer he starts. I don't know. How can he sign with Clutch when he's still in college? Like I don't know what the parameters of that deal are, but
I can tell you something. Clutch, I'm expecting Chris Livingston had the conversation with John Calipari before he signed that deal. I don't think Clutch is going to have any say whatsoever in the playing time that Chris Livingston gets. As a
they'll be talking to him though. They'll be talking to him.
It's LeBron's deal, right?
They might have a bad effect on him as a teammate.
That's LeBron's thing. That's LeBron's thing. And that's highly worrying to me.
That's why I sent it to you earlier. I was like, have fun with that.
I can't see it. Like it may be whatever. All these college kids are going to sign as many deals as possible to kind of.
I don't even know what it is though. Like I don't even think you're paying him. Like Clutch's representation. So like I don't understand.
Are they just marketing him?
I guess I don't know. He just joined them. It's not like he's getting paid. Like Clutch doesn't pay their athletes. Like
I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's true.
So
I guess their athletes kind of pay them.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. I don't know.
I didn't really think about it. I just thought it was like an NIL deal, but
no, I don't think so. I'll try and find it. You can keep
Rich Paul
give
that joke. But all right. Anyway, so let's talk about the two that everybody wants to hear about. Let's start with you want good news or bad news first, Connor?
Give me the bad news first.
Okay, the bad news revolves all around Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe is obviously potential for a none and done, which we haven't seen in a little bit. He's the number one player in high school basketball. Everybody was wanting to see him play. Everybody was wanting Cal to suit him up for a game. There was some smoke that scouts weren't gonna trust him to go top 10. There was smoke. There wasn't even smoke. He would be a maybe not multi. It would be a millionaire if he comes back to Kentucky. Like if he comes back, he'll get enough NIL deals to be a millionaire while playing for Kentucky, while kind of completing that goal. I don't know. I'm not in his head. I don't know if that's a goal or a dream of his, but like it's for a lot of kids, it is. But he also has the opportunity to not even play college ball, not have the chance of getting injured, and be a surefire top 10 pick, which is it's kind of hard to pass up on. And I think
he's gone.
He's probably gone. I've flipped.
No,
I was 55.
Probably.
It was 55-45 coming back for me in one of the last episodes we did. Now it's 85-15. He's gone.
Yeah. I put it like 99%.
Well, you would. I'm holding on to loose, Yeah.
He just would have to completely like bomb all these pre-draft meetings, workouts. Like,
and I really don't expect him to.
And I don't know how it could go that poorly. And even if it does go that poorly, I still think a team would this is just a bad day. He'll be fine. And they would still probably take it. I don't really think it's possible for it to go that bad.
But there's also the conversation. Well, will he have a shorter leash than the guys that performed in college? Because the only thing that scouts will have is that combine. So you said, it is important. It definitely is important that he does well. But I don't think he'll bomb. He's that good of a player. I really doubt he bombs. And if Cal goes by what Cal's gone by his entire career, he's probably going to tell him, yeah, go, his Cal's favorite story before he got to Kentucky was DeJuan Wagner. He was, he played a year or two. It was either a year or two at Memphis, and he wanted to come back to Memphis. But he was a top 5 pick, and he was like, no, go get to your contract, whatever. You don't want to risk getting hurt. He gets drafted top 5 or top 6, one of the two, to Cleveland, gets a career-ending injury, and still has the money from that contract. So the Cal has preached that his entire career here at Kentucky. So he would have to be going against a lot of the things, which maybe it's not going against because it was always the plan to have him come back. I don't know. I'm just trying to find
go against
something.
it, try and save his job.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, something like that. But
the rumors are swirling. They're swirling.
Nah, that was overblown big time. Are you talking about the Mitch Barnhart thing?
Yeah.
That's the most overblown report in history, even if it was true. I won't get into that. Cal's going to be.
Things are not. I don't know. I wouldn't say it probably was overblown, and I'm not like tuned in or anything to it that much. But the rumblings the past 2 years, I think, do have an effect. Like, I think Cal is feeling the pressure a little bit, and that's kind of crazy to say. But if he like flames out and has another first round exit in the tournament, like people already wanted him, potentially gone after this year.
I think
if that happens again,
it's the most
going to be a
important
larger contingent. Yeah,
this is the most important year of his career. It is. Like,
he's going to be starting it off with Shaedon Sharpe after, saying he was going to be back this whole time. If he leaves, that's going to be the starter. Like, that's not great.
That's probably the worst thing that could happen.
He
could have handled this much better. And I had Torres on for the episode. You weren't there. We talked about that extensively if you want to go and listen to that. But basically, it was just like the fact that the whole year he was saying, I can't wait for him to lead this team next year. Just at least acknowledge the possibility of him leaving. At least acknowledge it. Like, just say, it's out in the open. Like, it is a official report that he is eligible for the draft. So acknowledge it. Like, even if he doesn't, like, it'll at least brace everybody for impact. And then as soon as the St. Peter's game, he says Shaedon Sharpe's going to look at his options. Come on now. Come on. It's the worst way to handle that situation. But yeah, like, I think before he was using kind of but like the criticism from the fan base, and he was just kind of mocking it. Like, he was brushing it off, like, whatever. Like, I'm Cal. I think that St. Peter's game woke him up a little bit, and he was like, okay, my job is actually on the line here. Like, I know, like, they won't fire me, but like that, I will get, like, they can't, like, feasibly they can't money-wise.
Yes.
But he has to perform in order to win the fan base over. So.
I mean, strike one was missing the tournament. One of the worst teams. One of the worst teams ever. Strike two is this year. Mm-hmm. If next year goes poorly, I mean, that's 3 strikes, man. I don't want to say you're turning into like Indiana to a certain degree, but which you're not at that level. But again, like the decline of missing the tournament, first round exits, you don't want to let that snowball, because look what happens when you let the thing snowball, and you can really dig yourself a hole. Like, you don't want to let things fall off a cliff before you finally realize, we waited a little too long for this. Should have made a change.
I'm not on that board because, again, like that, I wouldn't even, I mean, yes, it was a failure. Like, the tournament success, that was a failure. Losing to St. Peter's, but that team was good. Like, I'm not like they were a 2 seed.
Get out of here.
They were a 2, they were like finished as the number 6 team in the country. Like, if they finished the regular season as the number 6 team in the country in the eyes of the seeds. And so, like, it's hard to put that, like, when you put it all in perspective, it's really hard to, like, hold that against Cal. Like, and yes, they should have won the St. Peter's game. I'm on board with you that was embarrassing, and it was the worst loss in maybe the history of college basketball. I'm on board with that, but it wasn't, limped into the tournament and got, just blown out. It wasn't that type of exit. So it's really hard to kind of.
I think that there's like levels to it.
Yeah.
Like, Indiana's levels way lower. But again, if he loses with another talented team that's, top 6 in the country to another mid-major, it's like there's got to be
if that exact thing happens again, then I will be on the fire train. Yeah, if we lose to a 15 seed next year, I'm on that train. Yes.
I mean,
like 100, yes.
There's going to be at that point you have to be thinking, we have the talent. We're getting the talent. We just need somebody to coach the talent. And again, I always say this just to, poke fun, but Cal has won it one time when he had a generational college basketball player in Anthony Davis. I mean, without Anthony Davis, I mean, the track record is fine. I don't think it's necessarily to Kentucky's standards that they have for their program.
I mean,
like,
I don't like since 2017, yes, but
take the title out and tell me you're still defending Cal like you are.
No, I'm not. So. I'm not. But like the amount of times he's been to a Final Four and the amount of wins, like, and I'm saying this like over the past years, like maybe post De'Aaron Fox, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk. Yes, like we have not been up to par. But I mean, before then, like the amount of success he had, even if you take away the championship, like the Final Fours, the win, like he had the most wins since he was hired. I think that is.
I think
good amount
another
of success.
Point is, I totally agree. Another point that I could make is the talent that he's getting is great as far as recruiting rankings. But is it too far out on a limb to say that the talent, like as the year goes on, isn't even close to what they were? I mean, you're talking about De'Aaron Fox, Bam, Anthony Davis, John Wall. I mean, Ty Washington, he's not even in the same league as those guys.
No, like, the recruiting has fallen off a cliff. It's fallen off a cliff. You're right. Yeah. Like everybody knows that. Everybody,
which is insane to say because he's had a top 2 class the last 10 years, top 2 or the number 1. But
it's been a weird couple of years. Like Duke got into the one and done. So obviously that tragedy of the commons. There's not as many players that you could pick from. Like they used to be the only school. They used to be the only option. And now like Cal is still trying to adjust from there. He tried getting, 20s to 30s, and he did well in that. Like he did for a couple of years. He got Shea, he got Tyler Hero. Booker was before that, but he got like guys like that. He got Juzang, who never worked out here. Like guys like that. Like he found those diamonds in the Emmanuel quickly. Like he found those diamonds in the rough. But yeah, like it's really hard to say he's lived up to Kentucky standards since that De'Aaron Fox Malik Monk team. Like that Luke May shot, if like this keeps spiraling, and it's gonna kill me to say
people are gonna look back at that.
I don't know if I will look back at that. I don't know if that's the consensus, but
people always pick moments when you're like, yep, that's when things really went downhill. And I think obviously, if that team wins that game, they keep winning. Who knows what happens?
Well, those were the two best teams in the tournament. Those were the two best teams in the tournament that year. And that was the year UNC beat, I believe, Gonzaga in the championship. That was a bad Final Four. Like that was a terrible Final Four. It was Gonzaga, South Carolina, I want to say like Oregon or something, and UNC. Yep. And it was UNC and Kentucky in that Elite Eight game. Everybody was like, okay, these are the two best teams. Like these are the two best teams left. And obviously Luke May hit the shot. Whatever. Like I hope Kentucky can recover and win another championship before Cal is out. It's like again, like his time is expiring at Kentucky. Like he can't coach forever.
The same moment that I come back to as an Indiana fan for the Crean era was when they lost to North Carolina in
2016.
Yes.
Yeah.
North Carolina goes on to the championship. I think if they win that game in the Sweet 16,
that was a tall task. That North Carolina team was awesome.
Oh, I know. And it's like if they beat that team, I don't know. I can't remember who else, North Carolina had to play, but if you beat North Carolina, you probably beat any team in that region, and things go very differently. But they lost, and it's just downhill from there. So and Indiana hasn't really recovered yet. We're like all the way at rock bottom, and we're a little bit higher than that now. We are slowly and surely chugging along.
Yeah. Let's go on a little more of a positive note here, because you made me really sad. And welcome. I didn't like that.
It's funny. You flipped. You said go to the bad news, and I said bad, but really it was good for me. So,
well, I meant good for our Kentucky listeners, but
wow.
or bad for our Kentucky listeners.
Yeah.
But whatever. The good news is Oscar Tshiebwe. So there's a lot of buzz that Oscar Tshiebwe will be back. Oh, and look, I'm not going to say with 100% certainty because nothing's with 100% certainty in college basketball anymore. But apparently his NIL deal is completely worked out. They found a maneuver around, and I don't think we were like grasping how the seriousness of this NIL thing was if he were to break the deal. He was on a student visa. He legally cannot work in the United States. And if before they found a workaround, I don't know that I'm not a lawyer. Like I'm not in law school, so don't come at me. But look, they found a workaround. But if he broke the rule, he could get like deported. Like he could be forced out of the country, and it wasn't just slap on the wrist, sanctions, postseason ban. Even it was way more serious than that. And obviously Oscar needs the money. I think his mom finally got to see him play for the first time college basketball this year, which is an awesome story. And he wants to move her to the United States, and he needs it. And so I'm happy that they found something, and apparently there's a couple like big time deals for him. Say he comes back. I think the only thing that would stop him is a team promising to pick him in the first round. I think
he and Trayce are in the same spot.
Yeah.
I think it's just as likely that both of them end up coming back as well.
Yeah. And look, I want to get to this. He's by far, obviously, besides like Shaedon is different type of player. But Oscar coming back, he would be the most important piece that we can get, period. Like throw Shaedon out, whatever. He would be the most important guy that we could possibly add to this team. He's a guy who obviously works his ass off on both sides of the floor. Just won National Player of the Year. This is what I was telling Connor privately. We got in a disagreement about it. I think he's the most important piece that they can add because he's the most low maintenance superstar there is. And that's, I like that term. I saw how commentators were describing Keegan Murray in the tournament runs and everything. And so I like that, but that's what Oscar is. He doesn't need the offense to revolve around him at all. I don't think really, unless we absolutely were in need of a bucket, we didn't really run stuff through Oscar. We would run a set, would get a shot up, and if we missed, Oscar got the ball. Like that is how crucial he is. He adds possessions to the game. He can work in any environment, but the best environment, we agreed, is surrounding him with shooters. It is getting at least 3 shooters around him, at least. And I mean, we'll see what Kentucky does. There's a ton of question marks that I'll get to, but that's huge. That now I think Matt Jones said 95% confident that he'll be back. Like, and he knows way more than I do about the inside of Kentucky, what's going on. And so I think that's a big deal. I would call that a very big deal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, it's like the same thing. How do you turn away your leading scorer? Whether the system in the roster is going to fit for him or not. Like, I think if Oscar comes back, the fit's going to be clunky with the roster that they have. As of now, it's going to be like, you don't have a shooter at the 4.
I mean, it's clunky already.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be even worse now with Oscar involved. Good thing. I mean, at this point, you might as well get the best offensive rebounder in the country because you're going to be throwing up a lot of bricks, I'm assuming. But again, like,
here we go.
If Kentucky had a floor spacer at the 5, I would say it's addition by subtraction, but I don't think it would be the massive drop off that people would really think when you lose the National Player of the Year. Like if Indiana loses Trayce, I don't think they're going to be like
completely different players.
Drastically horrible. What?
100% completely different players.
Maybe so, but again, it's
Trayce
the amount
needs,
of points.
Here's what I was trying to describe to you. And I
don't think Trayce needs the ball, though.
He 100% needs the ball in his hands to be effective.
He could do what Oscar's doing if he was used that way, but he isn't used that way.
He does not hustle like Oscar does.
He could, is what I'm saying. He could do that.
He doesn't. Anybody, I guess, could.
He did at times, and he did in the run in the tournament. He did that.
The difference is Oscar did it every minute that he played. He was the number one hustler in the country, and he made it. And he can make himself work in any system. He doesn't need the ball.
Well, he can work,
or
but
any
is the
play
system
to be
as a
ran
whole
for
effective?
Him. We'll see with the personnel. We'll get to the personnel after this, but
I just don't think. Again, if he comes back, obviously, how do you say no? But when he does, if there's no shooting around him, like people have Kentucky in the top 2 preseason. Like how? I just don't get that. And
I don't
again,
even know I don't know how you rank Kentucky, right? I don't know where.
Which I think Shaedon Sharpe was in the roster when they were top 2. I think it was Rothstein. So again,
I mean, that would make sense.
Take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, that maybe, but again, whoever they get in the portal, I don't think they're top 10. I just don't buy it. I always thought there's too many flaws with the team that they had last year, and they won a lot of games. But obviously the flaws were shown in the St. Peter's game, and the team's not going to be any different. It honestly might be worse from a spacing perspective. Am I wrong on that? I mean, so if Severe's the 1, Case Wallace is the 2, who's playing the 3? Like, I know it's kind of up in the air.
They get CJ Frederick in there somehow.
I mean, Kellen Grady
definitely space the floor.
I mean, he is Kellen Grady shooting the shooting role, I guess, but he doesn't shoot it at high volume like Kellen Grady did at times.
Sure, but he shot 50% at Iowa, and Iowa's
what did we just say?
Big Ten program.
Again,
well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, he did shoot 50% at.
Yeah,
Iowa.
He played with Luka Garza and Wieskamp. I mean,
he's played with the National Player of the Year.
Okay, here comes the spacing question, though. Again, that they have to help off of other people. They're not going to help off of Frederick. He won't have any space.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. They can't just have one shooter in the lineup. Like, you can't just have one threat, because then they will just minimize the threat, and then you're done. And that's what happened to us last year. I'm agreeing with you. I think we need more spacing. I'm just saying.
I don't know how they can get it. They don't have the scholarships.
You can still be Kentucky.
Who are they targeting in the portal right now that's a shooter?
Well, that's where I'm going to get to the portal. Who they're talking to, that's a shooter. That's a different question. I don't know how they fill it. Obviously they'll be waiting on more waves of transfers to come through. I don't know how they get to fill the shooting void, but they absolutely need to. We're on the same page there. We're absolutely on the same page.
So I'm curious, because I'm trying to think. I don't even know. I haven't seen a lot of Kentucky transfer portal stuff.
I'll tell you who they're talking to, and none of them fill that hole. I will say none of them do fill that hole, but they're trying to fill other holes around it. So first, I think it's obvious that they're prioritizing, getting a second big. When we talked about it, when they, whatever you want to call it, turned down, you think were rejected with Kofi Coburn, the Kofi Coburn situation. It's obvious that they, needed some sort of center depth. They did. Lance Ware would come in, he'd be important for a while, but you can't just have Oscar running, 40 minutes a game. Like, he'll get in foul trouble. And so that killed us in the Tennessee game. So it's obvious they're prioritizing that, and they're looking at guys that can be great defensively, come off the bench, and be effective. So the two guys that they have reached out to, and the guy I'm hearing the most is Norchert. I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Norchard Omie from Arkansas State,
Oh, yeah.
the big man,
Yeah.
freshman. He'd come in, average 18 and 12 last year. Obviously, he's not going to space the floor, but he is the guy that can come in and be fantastic defensively. I think he averaged 2 blocks a game last year, obviously for Arkansas State, but there's a ton of room to grow. He was only a freshman. And so I think that's huge. And the other guy is Johnny Broome from Morehead State. He averaged 16 points per game, 10 rebounds a game, and 4 blocks a game. So I think Cal was kind of uncomfortable that he didn't have that elite rim protector last year. And he usually does. And, the most recent one you can think of is, Nick Richards or, obviously the Anthony Davis, the Willie Cauley-Steins of the world. They want that rim protector. And I think if we are able to take on Johnny Broome, I don't know if I'm saying that right either because it is spelled kind of odd. I think that would be the guy that Cal can kind of rely on to kind of sit in the middle of that defense, come off the bench, get a few blocks, protect the rim in Oscar's absence. So those are the top 2 guys I'm hearing the most by Kentucky. Go.
Why would the Broome guy come to Kentucky to be a backup?
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just throwing out. I know. I'm throwing.
I'm just telling you that they've reached out. I don't know what the level of interest is in both sides, but
I think that's because Oscar and him can't play together. If I'm
no,
I don't. So
no.
And I think the other guy, he's coming from a little bit lower level at Arkansas State, but even then, that's surprised. Are those the only 2 you've really seen?
Big men wise?
Or just in general? I didn't know.
No, I'm gonna give you a bunch.
Oh, keep going then. I was gonna say if those are the only 2. My goodness.
No, I'm gonna throw you a bunch. Actually, there's one shooter to keep an eye out on this list. TJ Shaedon, obviously Terrence Shaedon. I think he entered the portal a long time ago. I think it'll be a while before we kind of hear anything from him. But Kentucky was one of the first to reach out. Obviously, probably the best perimeter defender in this portal. I don't know if Kentucky goes in that direction, though. They have a ton of forwards on this team. He may be there's many people that are saying he's the best player in the portal. There's some people that are saying that. Obviously, Kendrick Davis, he entered yesterday, and he's probably quickly become the best. I have no idea where he's going. I don't know if you've heard a list of teams that have reached out to him or not, if that's even came out yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
But yeah, Terrence Shaedon Jr. obviously there. I don't know where he fits in this lineup, especially if we're talking about spacing. But him, Severe, and Cason Wallace as a backcourt. Obviously, spacing's bad, but they would absolutely lock down any guard trio there is. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's my favorite lineup choice. I'm just saying that is an option. I'm kind of reading off this list. Fardas Amok, I think he's already went in a different direction. I don't think Kentucky's even talking to him anymore. Courtney Ramey, this is a guy we've talked about before.
They reached out to him?
They did reach out to Courtney Ramey along with a lot of teams. A lot of teams reached out to him. He was better. He had a better season 2 years ago than he did last year. And obviously nobody had a good season on that Texas team, but he's intriguing. He's athletic guard, good perimeter defender. He shot 35% from 3. He's not a fantastic shooter, but he's serviceable. He'd be a guard to add into the mix, especially if there's a big question mark on nobody's heard a thing about Severe. Nobody's heard a thing. So I don't know what he's planning to do. I'm assuming he comes back.
Not hearing anything is good at this point. That's kind of my motto on it. Like I said with tomorrow, haven't heard anything. Guessing that's a good thing.
100%. And this is the last or second to last one. This is the shooter that they've reached out to. I don't know the levels of. I'm just gonna hand up. I don't know the levels of interest on any of these. I know Kentucky is kind of prioritizing this Norchard Omie kid. I think I've heard multiple people say they do want him. But Antonio Reeves from Illinois State averaged 20 last year, 40% 3-point shooter. he's a guard. That'd be the guy. Like, that's the guy they're kind of circling. He's a fun player. If you watch his highlights, he's fun to watch. I don't know if Kentucky's actually going to follow through, but I've seen him linked to Kentucky many, many times. And the last one is the newest one. Kenny Lofton. This is very intriguing. It's very intriguing. He doesn't really. You take a look at Kenny Lofton. You're a Kentucky fan. You won't be. How do I describe him, Connor? How do I describe him in the nicest way?
I don't know.
He's got a lot of meat on his bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like a football player.
He does. I think he is. He should be a football player. He's not very tall.
Should be an offensive lineman.
Not very tall. His post moves are incredible, though.
Great footwork.
Great footwork. But he averaged 16 and 10 last year at Louisiana Tech. I don't know if Kentucky's interest is incredibly high. But he kind of reminds me of a former Kentucky player in Reed Travis. Do you remember Reed Travis, Connor?
I do, yes.
Doesn't he kind of remind you of Reed Travis in the way he plays below the rim instead of above it? And
yeah. Does he have a 3-point shot, Lofton? Because I know Reed Travis did for stretches.
He did. I guess I don't remember.
He did a little bit.
He did a little bit. Let
me look it up because I'm pretty sure he was at one point supposed to be like kind of that guy. He had somewhat of a jumper.
I remember being pissed when he shot threes. So I don't know what Kenny Lofton shoots 20% from three. I looked it up earlier. He's not a prolific shooter at all.
Let's see. Gosh dang it.
Are you looking at Reed Travis right now?
He was a former
Stanford Cardinal.
He was a 5-star, wasn't he?
No, was he? Maybe.
I can't remember.
I remember.
Okay, he shot 30% at Stanford. Is that year he averaged 19 and about 9.
He was like a big Pac-12 first team or something. That was before the transfer portal. Yeah.
I mean, he shot about a 3 a game at Kentucky. It really fell off. He shot 2 a game at Stanford. So, yeah, I imagine you were probably upset by the end of it when he was shooting and missing them.
Yes. That's what I do remember that. Yeah. That was a very, I like that team a lot. I
he
did
was a
like
4-star.
Yeah. Well, I did like that
5-star though.
That's crazy. He's going to be one of Reed Travis. When you do trivia, you can do trivia on all the Kentucky players that have cycled in and out because there's a lot of turnover. And
yes,
there will be a lot of guys that people forget about being Kentucky Wildcats. And I'm fully on board for doing a trivia episode if you want to ever. But I
would fail.
You would fail. You might have to be the host.
100%. Yeah.
You might have to be the host. And we have to find somebody I'd go up against, like Walker or something. I think Walker would be a good contestant.
Walker would be really good.
Yeah. Right. But anyways, those are the guys. That's what I'm hearing about Kentucky. I did a little bit of research on it. But yes, there is some holes in shooting, and I think Kentucky needs to fully address that. But I think it's underrated important that we need to kind of address that backup big a little bit, have somebody that you can trust kind of protecting the rim behind Oscar. I would love to address the point guard position. I thought Xavier Pinson would be a good fit. Maybe if you want to move away from Severe, if you will not get rid of Severe, but if you don't want to put all your trust in him being the lead guard, because if it wasn't Severe, it was Davion Mintz, and then Ty never really he got that one game where he had 17 assists as a point guard, and then he never really played the point after that. But, Mintz is more off the ball. Ty's more off the ball, or he was in college. And Kellen Grady, obviously, more off the ball. So if you want to kind of fill that void, definitely. I'll be interested, though. I want to see who reaches out to Kendrick Davis. I'm intrigued by that kid. He doesn't seem like a Kentucky guy. Like he's so high volume. Like, so I just don't think like
is he like the
would,
Remy Martin of the transfer portal? Like this year, is he going to be the Remy Martin?
I think
he could be better. Like I'm not saying, but like the same style, like just a high volume.
Oh yeah. That's what he is.
He just gets the ball a ton.
And transfer from TCU. I didn't know that. Yeah. He's 5'11", 180. So yes, he is Remy Martin.
He's Remy Martin. Okay.
19 points per
that's
game.
good. That's good work right there by me. That was off the top of my head. I had no clue that he was 5'11", 180. No clue.
19 points per game, 37% from three. That kid's a stud. And he averaged 19 and 8 the year prior. And now, since he was the only player on the team last year,
Nigel Pack are those two guards, man. That's gonna be interesting to see where they go.
Mm-hmm. And Mark Sears at Alabama, sneaky. That because you'll forget when the regular season rolls around, like the guys that enter or that make their decision early, you'll forget about them, and then like you'll get there, and I was like, I forgot about that guy. He's going to be that guy. Mark Sears is going to kill some people at Alabama. Like that's going to be an exciting team to watch. But obviously Arkansas cleaning up in the portal. Whatever.
No surprise.
Yeah. We'll see. They're not, I mean, like fool me once. I was giving them all and I guess they did succeed at the end. But they had a good year. Yeah. But I had them very high in my preseason when we did that. But
yeah,
whatever. I think that's a good way to wrap up the show. Connor, thank you for joining me. We'll be all over this off-season stuff. I want to play some games for the off-season. I don't know what to do.
We'll have to get planning on that again.
Yeah, that was fun.
Off-season
maybe another draft. Maybe another draft. Yeah, we can do another draft. I'll think of something. But yes, Connor, thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, 5 stars, whatever you got to do to show us some love. We really appreciate you coming on to Hot and Cold. And look, the off season is our season. Like obviously when the regular season's going on, we're kind of handcuffed to topics. Not that we don't like covering college basketball because that's obviously what we love to do. But in the off season, we kind of show our creativity. We have new guests on, which will be big this off season. Guests that don't have to necessarily involve college basketball. Like I got to call up Wyatt again. Wyatt's got to be he's got to be make a reappearance to the podcast.
Yeah, I remember. I think back when we had him on, we were talking about when Purdue. It was something about Purdue being better than Indiana. I'll have to have him come back on, and she's talking about how Indiana fans are just gonna be disappointed. Yeah, I'll have to hey, we actually beat
the tournament. Yeah,
made the tournament.
Yeah. But yeah, Scott, thank you for joining me. I'll get on the guests and everything, but that's it. That's the episode, and love you guys.